Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there. So please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise. We don't make money. So check it out and throw some money if you think that would be cool. Thanks.
Welcome to It Gets Weird, our comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try to make your world a little weirder. I'm Nile.
And I'm Kyle, and I'm running on 5 hours of sleep and the drug cocktail that was given to me to make me normal.
I thought you were going to cite some fictional character's drug cocktail that was given to you.
I'm doing the drug in Ubik. There's a drug in Philip K. Dick's Ubik that I'm doing, and it's probably going to like kill me or make reality all weird or something. I don't remember.
Satellites are like downloading shit into your brain and stuff.
Yeah. And I'm, I get to see, two kind of different warped realities. And that's just the kind of drugs that I've been into lately. And it really normalizes my brain waves. So
you got to do what you got to do,
Yeah, that's my sort of method before we record.
Speaking of altered realities, we have an altered reality podcast this week. And the fact that it's not just the two of us. Kyle and I are remote as normal, but we do have a third person in the room with me.
What?
Hi.
Huh?
Who's in the room with you? There's someone in here?
Yeah, there is. There's someone the call's coming from inside this house. The Zoom call is coming from inside the room. Yeah.
Who would you say popularized this move in movies? The listeners won't hear this, but this. Do you know that thing? Who popularized that? I'm moving my eyes left and right
that's
rapidly.
Like a Scooby-Doo thing in my mind, not a
I feel like it must be like
thing.
a Billy Crystal type or something. Did like wacky, like, whoa.
Fair.
Your eyes?
Yeah,
kind of like a kind of think UHF.
Picture what someone's eyes would be doing if they were making that noise.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah.
Look, I reference the noise from the fucking whatever they're called on UHF far too often without like giving context for that being what I'm doing. The people going on UHF has been burned into my brain since I was a child, and I don't really have a good reason for it.
That's such a specific thing. Like I know what you're talking about, but it's like I don't spend much of my life thinking about the guys in UHF going whoa, 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 whoa.
And why not?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not a brainworm for me, I guess, but I could see how that could come about, I suppose.
That's a good email for this week. Or send us your most obscure brainworm.
Please, we need more brainworms. At this podcast, we could always use more brainworms, everybody on this show, 100%.
Kyle, I'm so glad you fucking said that. Wait, am I interrupting anything? Can I transition?
No,
to
I had nothing.
For the week?
I didn't have any wisdom or anything interesting or fun or funny or
my
or
name
cool to
still
say.
hasn't been said.
Well,
but I guess
that's your
okay.
bit.
It's my bit, but normally someone says it.
Jules is here.
Jules is with
hey,
us.
everybody. Jules is here. Jules in the house.
And per her contract that she signed
Contract,
for our show, she will never announce her own name unless she is a host of the show, receiving, the paycheck that a host would receive.
Wait, I was supposed to get a paycheck?
Kyle, I can't tell her about that. This I've been embezzling from her for this entire time.
Jesus. Well, that's a weird thing to say in front of her. One.
Yeah.
Two, we are paying her a lot less than she would be getting if she were hosting.
True. Yes. Guest fees are the podcast equivalent of a hot dog and handshake.
It's true.
So
welcome, Jules.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome back. It's been a little while since you were last on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was when we had the big multi-person in-room.
Did you miss me? There's another email. Email Nile and Kyle if you missed me.
We do get messages
you
from
joke,
people.
but we get like every time you're on, someone in the Discord or someone on Twitter is just like, man, Jules should be on more often.
I do it for the people. I'm here for the people.
It's absolutely true. So we're glad to have you back.
Yeah. Now, speaking of brainworms, we're talking about brainworms, and that's not exactly what we're talking about today, but it is. I feel like it is tied because today, Kyle, I realized that I've never actually looked into the concept of alien implants. So I went and did a bit of research on the world of alien implants and people who claim to remove them, that kind of stuff, and found, honestly, at one point my notes were 35 pages long. We're gonna see where we get through today, and there is going to be a second tied episode to this at some point. We'll see how quickly it comes, depending on how much I get through today.
Oh my god!
Because turns out there's a lot to look at when it comes to alien implants.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have run into implants in various episodes, but I've never sort of tried to like tackle the idea of alien implants holistically.
Have either of you ever checked yourself?
If I have one?
Yes.
No, but I did learn how to check for it.
But Kyle has?
In researching.
Yeah.
What'd you do? How'd you do it?
That right there on my arm.
Yeah, Kyle has a kind of a, what is that? That's the bicep. He has on his inner bicep, he has a line.
Yeah, that's where they pulled the alien implant out. Only cost me with the insurance about $150.
Well, then you got scammed because the big one, the big guy that supposedly does it or did it, he did it for free. Supposedly.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, it's times are tough and everything is very expensive now. I gotta fucking.
The price of alien implants has gone up since Biden took office.
Yeah, this is really, thanks Biden. I just really wanted to get this fucking piece of metal that was transmitting signals to Alpha Centauri out of my body, but now it's costing me all this shit. Come on.
Everybody send this episode. When this episode gets posted on Twitter, I want everyone to link it in a reply to the Holding Biden Accountable Twitter account.
Okay, yeah.
And then cite it as he promised that alien implant surgeries would be free, and they aren't. Kyle paid $150.
Alien implant surgeries are too damn high.
Now what we're gonna do, Jack, with the alien with the court, we're taking them out. We're taking all of them out, and that's a promise. And we've been doing lots of work to try and do come on, man.
That was good.
That was about as coherent as a lot of them.
Thank you.
It was actually more coherent, probably, but like on average. But
God bless the queen. God save the queen.
Oh man. So alien implants.
Yeah.
Kyle and Jules, what do you know about these things?
They're bad news.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say generally they're bad news.
I know the one episode of House.
Oh right, I forgot about
episode
that.
of House.
I actually feel like a lot of that is probably pretty accurate to like certain people's actual accounts in terms of there's an episode of House where kid thinks that he's getting abducted by aliens and the parents don't believe him, and he like wakes up in his front lawn with his butt all covered in blood. That's like the opening of the episode.
Oh, no.
But he keeps telling House he knows that there's a chip in his neck, and at one point he it's this little kid and he gets off on his own and he uses like a scalpel to try to cut it out of his neck, and it turns out there is something in there, but it's just a procedure that his parents never told him he had or something. I haven't seen it in many years.
Yeah,
but that kid's good. He still is an actor. I see him sometimes and I'm like, hey, you're the kid with the alien implant from House.
Okay. I vaguely remember that now that you brought up the bloody butt, brought it into my brain. I had forgotten about that episode of House until you brought that up.
He has like really striking blue eyes, the kid does. Yeah. He's got like freckles and these really bright blue eyes.
Well, that is a pretty typical, description of what I've understood abductees and people who claim to have implants have gone through. I feel like it really depends on the abductee and also probably the era of UFOs. But it's typically like, I think the most common thing that I've seen is people likening alien implants to like animal tagging, like what we do with, different animals that we're trying to like scientists are like tracking or whatever.
Yeah. So for the purpose of an alien implant is to track humankind, is what you're saying.
Yeah, which I is a little weird to me, because like I feel like when you're on like an intergalactic level, it's just like you can just point at the dot where Earth is and go like, well, they're there, So,
and also with these phones these days,
It's so true.
people are just tracking you all the time, and aliens just have to, they have a deal with the NSA, and they can find you without any tracking system.
Can I also just quickly ask, do you think, Kyle, that scientists who tag animals are only tagging them for the purpose of locating them? Or do you think that then they follow up on that afterwards and do actual research? Because I'm pretty sure they tag them with the idea of like, and then we also are going to observe them and log data about what they do.
Yeah, their migratory
It's not
patterns.
just like, where are they?
I don't know. Maybe they're just sitting there and they've got the, beep, beep, boop, boop. They got the fucking like sea simulation in front of them. Like, oh my God, the dolphin's there.
They have that,
like
they
a
have
fun
that
game.
computer that has the little rotating satellite dish on
they
top
can,
of
like-
it and has a big like beeping circle in the middle of it,
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I mean, I get that they're like looking at, various things, their migratory patterns and things like that. But it's like, I'm just saying, like, on the level of being an alien, it's like, what exactly would be the purpose of tracking those kinds of things with humanity? I guess
They want to know how many times you shit a day.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a
Yeah,
there was
they're
a good
checking
app
to make
for
sure
that.
you're regular.
Yeah, that's interesting. They're really concerned with the ass. I didn't
They
know
have
it.
a big counter, up on the spaceship for how many times Kyle shits a day.
Okay, cool. So there's
Oh, specifically Kyle. Okay.
just me. Oh shit. Well, that counter is going up every day.
Yep. It's going up right
Baby.
now. Kyle
It's
is
going
shitting
up
his
right
pants.
now.
Well, yeah, unknown thing. Kyle actually is shitting most of the time
Oh.
we're recording these podcasts.
Niall has to do a lot of editing
It's true.
around the sound.
I have
Yeah.
a specific patch on my limiter software on my gate software that just labeled Kyle farts, and I have small,
Right.
medium, and loud
No, and this
that you can kind of put on there to take care of different farts. And stuff.
God, yeah, and it's so I'm good at comedy podcasting. I always do the yes and, so I'm gonna say that's all true. And
Release the poop cut.
Yeah. And Niall's always cutting out the audio of me rustling around, taking my diaper off, tossing in the trash can where I have a mountain of diapers, and putting a new diaper on. He's cutting all of that shit out.
He edits out every time you say, please don't leave this in the podcast.
Yeah. So that's all true, and that all
Please,
happens
Niall,
every episode.
please
So-
edit out my shit sound.
All right. I like that this is entirely my fault, but I think it's funny that I was like, yeah, I started out at one point I had 35 notes of pages, and now I'm going on an extended bit about how Kyle's shitting while we record, which
You
is my own
invited
fault.
me. You invited me on the
Yeah.
podcast. What did you think was going to happen?
Yeah, so this is gonna be a 4-parter. So
I'm going to do an extended bit where I talk about being Billy Crystal and I refuse to say my own name.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to bring up Kyle shitting. That's in my rider.
yeah, that's part of the contract.
It's the oeuvre for sure. Well, great. Now that that's established about me,
Yeah, now that we have the lore figured out for the episode, because you got to add to the It Gets Weird lore.
Do you want me to
every episode.
summarize any other episodes of television shows from the early aughts?
oh
yeah.
Because I
can you
could
give
do
me
that
some-
too. I feel like that's also a thing I do pretty
Can
regularly.
you give me some episodes of Chicago Fire?
I've never watched Chicago Fire.
All right, then
I've
on
watched
that note-
Chicago PD.
You have fuck.
Of course I have.
I have the wrong fucking branch of the
Yeah.
civilian.
if you want
services.
to
Fuck,
stop the show every once in a while and lay down some like stuff about the OC, that could work.
Perfect. Yeah.
we could do that, but only up until like season 1, episode like 22.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna bring up some other fucking weird show, but I'm gonna do it when you least expect it. Niall,
cool.
start the notes.
Yeah. So today, Kyle,
Lock the gates.
we're gonna lock the gates and talk about alien implants. So
Yeah.
let's start with just some basics about what they are, some of the like what they're maybe for, some theories and stuff like that before we get into the bulk of info about the history of these people trying to surgically remove them. So other than actual alien spaceships or bodies, the most, to some people, the most reasonable evidence for alien abductions and alien encounters and stuff is implants, because they think that this is some sort of alien technology that is implanted into abductees, and if you know that is a thing that can help to prove that aliens actually exist and these experiences are real. So there is this interest in alien implants as this more accessible way to prove to people that aliens exist. That's kind of the idea of this. Now in the community, there are many different reasons why they think that these things are happening, and we'll get into those in just a second. But what alien implants are small devices that are either mechanical or, in some cases, a type of organic tissue that are then injected or surgically implanted into human abductees by extraterrestrials. There have been many cases throughout UFO history where people were abducted and came back with some sort of physical injury or some sign of some sort of invasive procedure on them. And that is the kind of stuff we're looking at when it comes to alien implants. Now, what they are actually used for is a bit of a debate in the community. The main thing is tracking. A lot of people do think that it's a form of tracking. It's logging information about you as a test subject, essentially.
Say it.
What?
It's logging how many times you shit.
It's logging how many times you shit. But other people think that they are more of a transmitter in some way, shape, or form of like these like deep space radio waves. Which is a whole other subset of theories that is looking into kind of using them as ways to contact as opposed to actually track. Also, there are other people that think that they are used as a way to augment humans, giving them special abilities or unlocking abilities therein you, that kind of stuff. But that's a more rare theory. Tracking is the big one.
What about killing? Does anyone think that they're it's to kill us?
Oh, like a suicide chip type thing?
I more meant they're going to put as many of us as possible and then all at once just go
okay.
I was thinking that you were saying it's a very, very slow sort of release bullet.
That's not a bad idea either.
Yeah. I haven't come across that theory, because I did, however, find a story that I don't think we're going to get to in this particular episode, but might be in a future thing, of someone who claims to have 32 alien implants in them. So I don't know if 32 isn't enough to kill you. I don't know what would.
Well, be. I think that they're planning to kill us at a later date.
Oh, they're going to kill.
And they're
throw
prepared.
A kill switch.
Yes.
Okay.
But I also think that goes against generally what I assume when someone says that they have an alien implant. The actual psychological reason that I assume about most people who say stuff like this is they want to feel special and chosen. So they like to say the aliens chose me because I have special powers. They wanted to unlock my innate gifts. And so they taught me how telekinesis and shit. So you're not special if they picked you up just to fucking murder you. So that's why that's not a popular theory.
True.
Because the people, they want to feel special.
Yeah. The other one that I didn't mention that I forgot about, because it's not the most commonly held theory, is that it's some sort of mind control device, so that they can actually control you from space or whatever. And I that still would be something kind of special, I guess. So
yeah, and if you do lean more paranoid, that still is a less upsetting thought than I could die at any second. So I feel like you would still reach for that before reaching for I have a kill switch implanted in my brain.
Yeah. So there are certain signs that you can look for if you're worried that you might have an alien implant that would make you believe that might actually be the case. So here are some signs that you might be an alien implant survivor. Okay. Yeah. So you can have an abnormal scar or mark on the body that you can't explain, which is just vague enough to make you very paranoid. Long periods of lost time would be kind of when you got abducted. flashbacks and or dreams of being on a surgical table surrounded by lights and various beings. You find hard pieces of metallic material or plastic under the skin that shouldn't be there. There's feedback or buzzing from speakers when you are nearby. You experience uncontrollable actions that you don't have any reason to be doing. If you have painful nasal cavities, as if something hard was put up there. Headaches due to a brain implant. So I guess if you're just experiencing headaches, or nosebleeds, those are all some signs that if you have multiple of those, you might have some form of alien implant.
What's weird is I know you were kidding, but that is like word for word a Jeff Foxworthy routine. Those are all also reasons that you might be a redneck. It's such a weird coincidence.
Yeah, if you got hard plastic shoved up your nose,
You might be a redneck.
If you got voices telling you what to do and where to go and satellites are beaming images into your mind, you might be a redneck.
It's so true.
I did want to say, and I feel like you'll probably get into this at some point, but I've heard of and seen some unfortunate. I'm gonna say something genuinely alarming, just to be clear. Not although this is already a pretty fucked up subject, just shit under your skin and implanted on you is pretty much body horror. But I've seen stuff where people, I don't remember what the disease was called, but it was like, my kind of understanding of it was sort of psychosomatic, where people were convinced that there were certain things under their skin. I think the two that I saw is there were people who were like they thought there were like these fibers under their skin, and they were trying to pull that out, and as a result, they were kind of picking at their skin and tearing their skin off. And then another one that I saw was insects, people who were convinced that insects were under their skin. So I guess I just wonder, it's like this idea of, tiny bits of plastic or metal under your skin. Could that maybe be in that same realm of things, but it's just because we have this UFO association with it, like it's been sort of, brought in.
Kyle, you just happened to bring up a topic that I've had in the background for like a long time, because it's really gross and hard to make something fun about. The concept of morgellons.
That's what it was. Are you
aware of this?
Yeah, I thought
the fibrous stuff underneath your skin.
Yeah,
that is a whole other brand of paranoid conspiracy theory that is not directly related to this, but could, if you take if you take the world of weird out of it, they could be related. But in the world of weird, that stuff isn't necessarily, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've looked into it, because I tried to do an episode on it like a year and a half ago, and it was really fucking gross.
Yeah,
and
it's upsetting.
But it's not something we're going to be covering in this episode. But morgellons are on my radar, and I might get to it.
I'm mostly just saying, like, is it possible that, like, I'm questioning if, like, we didn't recognize it as being a part of that same phenomenon because it got wrapped up in ufology stuff. That's all I'm really saying.
Yeah, so it's definitely possible. Now, a lot of this stuff, I'm just going to say this right now, a lot of the stuff is just shrapnel, or the biological stuff is subcutaneous fat particles that have separated from the fat in your skin. I watched some stuff about this and saw some people talking about. I watched some surgery videos
horrible.
About alien implants.
Oh God!
While doing research for this, because I wanted to see what the things actually looked like, and like people trying to like claim what they are versus what people who debunk say they are, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I had to watch some surgery.
Awful
for this episode.
Sorry to hear that.
Oh, it's fine.
In the episode of House, they do open skull surgery on the kid. They show his brain, and they like poke his brain while he's awake.
Did they
and like force him to hallucinate aliens while he's like sitting up?
Yeah, because they find out that the hallucinations are tied to like an underlying thing. And
House is trying to prove that it's in this part of his brain, so they start poking that part of his brain to try to activate a hallucination.
That's fucking insane. One.
I mean, I call me crazy, but I think some of the stuff that they do on House is probably unethical for doctors in real life to be doing.
Yeah, I think that they regularly say that on the show. Like once every
House,
other
you've
episode.
gone too far.
Yeah, once every other episode, someone bursts into wherever House is and goes, "You're doing something unethical for a doctor."
Just to be clear, I have basically not watched any House except
You're missing out.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I missed out on that one for whatever reason. And I think you showed me like part of an episode at one point or something that involved House and his buddy like sharing an apartment and being accused of being a secret couple.
Oh, of course. The episode where their neighbor thinks that they're gay. So House continues to let her believe that they're gay. They have a hot female neighbor that they both want to date. And House continues to try to convince her that they're gay so that eventually they can spend enough time alone together that then he can pretend that he's straight because he fell in love with her. It's like a whole awful manipulation thing. But to subvert House doing that, Wilson proposes to him in front of the woman.
That's right. I remember now.
So House has to say yes to getting married to him.
Wow.
That's a classic after they have jumped the shark episode of House where they just are like, let's just do any crazy fucking thing we think of. The late seasons of House are like, and now House is going to drive a car through the front wall of Cuddy's house and it doesn't matter anymore.
Now, that is one thing I wanted to say about that. And the other thing is they did open brain surgery on this kid with the implants and stuff, and that's fucking crazy. Just to provoke an alien vision. My question is, did they do open butt surgery to address the bleeding thing?
I do not remember if they poked around in this kid's butthole. I don't remember.
Okay, cool. Well,
maybe some exploratory surgery.
Yeah.
No, they just Shibata style took his brain out of his head and put it on the table next to him.
Oh God.
Oh man. So, the other kind of side effect of this stuff is trace evidence on the skin. To get back to the alien abduction stuff, the day after their abduction, they'll notice some sort of mark that they can't explain. Typically, that is like bruises left by restraints or puncture marks from needles, and those are usually in kind of a triangular puncture mark you'll hear about a lot. And some other things are like marks that appear in this kind of grid or geometric pattern. These will usually fade quite quickly. The only thing that is really thought of in the UFO community that doesn't fade is a thing called a scoop mark, which is this like kind of circular indent in your skin that literally looks like someone took a tiny ice cream scoop and just like balled like a little bit of a semicircle out of your skin.
Yeah.
And this is something that they believe is similar to the procedure of a punch biopsy in our human medical practice, which is where you take a sample of skin for an analysis. So they think this is some sort of DNA gathering thing. Then there was another type of mark altogether that was discovered by a researcher that we'll talk more about later named Daryl Sims. And these marks are fluorescent and can only be seen under ultraviolet light, sometimes in a yellow-green part of the spectrum, other times in a red-pink part. And these will be found either as random splotches or as actual designs on your skin. And the thing is with these, you have to find them very quickly because they will fade within a day, if not even be like brushed off by just touching them. So this is supposedly some residue. It's almost like the way that it felt when I was reading stuff about these things. They never straight up said what caused these marks to show up, but it seems like it was almost some residue, almost like skin oil that we have that like theirs shows up under fluorescent light,
like a temporary tattoo.
Almost, yeah. So yeah, these are kind of a lot of the main signs that you may or may not have an alien implant. And so I guess now we probably have to talk about getting them damn things removed. So alien implant removal is a science that is, I would say, in its infancy.
Would you now?
Yes, seeing as the Okay, so this may not be the only people that started the idea of this, but Daryl Sims is one of the people that claims to be one of the originators of the idea of finding alien implants. He claims to be one of the first people to have actually recognized this as a procedure from aliens. I can't completely say with any confidence that he was actually the first person, but if you go to his website, that is something that he claims in the 1960s. Now, the first actual removal that I found was a combination procedure by Daryl Sims, who brought the case to a person who we're going to be talking about more in depth today, named Dr. Roger Lear, who is one of the preeminent people when it comes to alien implants and alien implant removal. And so they did the first actual removal in 1995.
Now, what about the first alien implant period, whether or not it ended up getting removed? Like, does that predate the first removal of an alien implant?
I would think so. The concept didn't start then. There were stuff before that, but I didn't see a lot of whenever you're looking up alien implants, this is basically where it begins.
What year did the X-Files start?
91, 92, something like that.
I think it was 93, maybe.
3.
I was going to say, I feel like there's got to be an early X-Files when they still are both babyface, where Mulder says, Scully, you fucking heard about this?
You really would
It's
think
alien
that I would
implants.
be able to answer that question since we're actually watching season 1 of the X-Files right now on the Patreon.
I have a strong feeling that while early on in that show, Mulder's like, shut the fuck up. Of course, it's a common thing.
Yeah, I mean,
aliens put shit under our skin. I know this to be a fact.
The idea of implants came about much earlier than 1995. This was just like the first time I saw an actual removal surgery with these people.
Mm-hmm.
So I honestly don't know how early people claim to have implants. Like, this is the thing that is kind of hard when you're looking at alien history and UFO history type stuff, is like the cross-pollination of speculative fiction and ufology is this like continuous Ouroboros. Because like the Hollow Earth stuff started as like a sci-fi pulp adventure thing that was written by someone who was in kind of the occult weird circles, who then that idea started to get picked up as like, oh, the pulp story is actually hiding the truth of it, and then it kind of permeates out, and then that gets like changed by all the stuff. And like, so I think the concept of alien implants started before these guys. But
just generally, would you say, because that just made me think this, that science fiction is the genre that most commonly utilizes the tool of writing fiction as if it is nonfiction, like writing a story in the same format of a history book where they're explaining, and this really happened, but it's actually science fiction. I feel like sci-fi does that more than any other genre.
I think of like, I mean, if you lump sci-fi and fantasy together, Kyle, I don't know if you would agree with me here, but the place that I think of when it comes to people writing quote unquote non-fiction works in a speculative fiction genre, I think of stuff like the Silmarillion and some.
Oh yeah, no, totally. But
stuff.
I'm saying that shit says, and that happened on another planet or whatever.
Fair.
That happened somewhere. I'm saying this happened on Earth in 1954. It was a real story. An alien came. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think that's probably fair to say. Like sci-fi is speculative fiction in general. Sci-fi being a subgenre of that is where you get a lot more of that kind of thing, I think.
Yeah, I felt honestly, I also went to the Silmarillion initially, but like I've been reading lots and lots and lots of sci-fi over the last couple of years. And there is this, like, it depends on the writer and, like, the era and stuff, too. But, with some of the more, like, geeky, hard sci-fi stuff, they definitely, like, get into what Jules is describing. Like, I would think of, like Foundation, and like, Isaac Asimov does a lot of stuff like that, too. So, yeah, I think you're right.
Fair. So Dr. Roger Lear let's start with just a little bit of basics.
Oh my
Dr.
God.
Roger Lear is a podiatrist.
I'm
in
so
California.
tired. Asimov is Foundation. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Right?
you're right.
I'm so
Yeah. Yeah, he, Foundation, iRobot,
Yeah.
2001, all those.
sorry.
things.
Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God, I'm asleep at the wheel here.
So Dr. Roger Lear is a podiatrist who lived in California, and I would love to tell you exactly how we got into all this stuff. I found 2 different stories on bios from him, and I think there's a reason why I found 2 different stories about how we got into this stuff, and we'll get into that reasoning here in a little bit. But for now, I'm just going to give you the rundown of these 2 different kind of origin stories of Dr. Roger Lear as a podiatrist involved in alien implant removal surgery.
Something sinister about being a child doctor who also got into alien implants. There's just something off about that.
He's a foot doctor, not a child doctor.
Oh,
Yes, podiatrist is foot.
What's
Not a
the
pediatrician.
Pediatrician.
I should just maybe go drown myself.
No, you're good.
The whole thing about 5 hours of sleep is real, and I am not. My brain is not present.
Yeah.
Do you want me to describe another episode of House?
Yeah,
That might
no,
ground me a little bit.
Okay, so
this
there's-
episode's going to be 4 hours long and part of a 4-part series if we keep going into House episodes. So I found these 2 different stories of how he got into his UFO work. And they seem to have come from 2 different time periods with like pretty big details differentiating them. So first of all, there's a story that says Lear had an interest in UFOs from an early age after he saw a 1947 newspaper story reporting the first Roswell incident. And so he was basically got involved in hearing about alien implants as early as the 1970s as the theory started to kind of take some get more popular in the UFO community, but he was still somewhat skeptical at that time. And when he had a chance meeting with a man named Daryl Sims at a UFO conference in 1995, that's when he kind of went fully into it and got involved full throttle about the UFO community. Now, the fact that he was already at a UFO conference means to me he's already involved in the UFO community.
Yeah, you're probably already into it.
Supposedly, that is kind of where his skepticism went away, and he got involved with Daryl Sims. The case that Sims brought to him was that of a man named Pat Perinelio and a woman going under the pseudonym Mary Jones. They were 2 middle-aged Texans who claimed to have had alien encounters, and they supposedly, under x-rays, they were found that there were these small anomalous objects underneath their flesh. Pat's was in the back of his hand, and Mary's was in her big toe. Neither had any previous surgeries or accidents that would account for the placement of these objects. And the fact that Mary's object was in her toe is why I believe Sims contacted a podiatrist, because he did pediatric surgery. So this was he seems to have gotten involved, as far as I can tell, for real in this whole thing, because Daryl Sims needed someone to do surgery on Mary's toe. But there's the other side of this thing that I found, where it says that he started his career as a foot surgeon, and he had patients who came in who started to say they had these curious problems with their extremities. They had this memory of being abducted by extraterrestrials, and these extraterrestrials placing implants inside of them. He basically ignored these confessions. He didn't think that there was any reality to them, and these people were just kind of, crazy, for lack of a better term. But he, as a doctor, for the sake of the good of the people, he would remove these things that these people were worried about.
There is something sinister about being a foot doctor who gets into alien implants surgery.
It's, yeah, we'll get into the vibes of this, because there's something that part of the reason why Jules is on this episode is because we watched something last night that we're going to talk about a little later.
Alien autopsy footage?
Yeah, we sat down and watched a couple hours of alien autopsy.
Yeah, Nile
footage.
duct taped me to a chair.
Yeah. And we had the device from A Clockwork Orange making me watch alien surgery.
Can I just say really quick,
Yeah.
just to make Kyle feel better about his brain?
Yeah.
X-Files did start in 1993.
Oh,
good.
nice. Okay, so
Kyle nailed it.
I can pull completely useless facts like that, but I can't remember the different kinds of doctors which are important to my health. So
You don't know how to read, but you can remember what
exactly.
your X-Files started.
Well, Kyle, at least like I think that it's safe to say in this world that if you were to contact a pediatrician about your foot, they would probably correct you on that information, and same vice versa. So, these people supposedly he went to work to try to remove some of these objects, and as he removed them, he noticed that they were. Upon testing them, made of the same type of stuff that makes up meteors. He had these samples analyzed by the New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology. And then because of all of this information, he got so enraptured in it, he joined the local chapter of MUFON. And that's where his whole thing started with UFOs.
Okay.
Now, as far as I can tell, that is the later story. And the reason that I think that is the later story is because of the fact that it completely disregards Daryl Sims. And this is where we're going to get into, to me, the most interesting part of this whole fucking episode. So Sims,
you tell me there's some hot goss. Is there drama?
Jules,
Yes.
it's the ufology, it's UFO community. There is always hot goss.
And sometimes you end up on a UFO podcast message board reading about drama from the community when you're researching this shit. And it's...
Do you know the format of podcasts that's just like regular people talking about gossip?
Yeah.
Where it's basically like, it's just like a gossip magazine, but as a podcast.
They're basically just doing like blind items type stuff.
Yeah. Is there a format for that for the UFO or like strange and paranormal communities?
Is there a Fortean Goss network?
I feel like there should be. I feel like we need like the Dumois of like weirdo community stuff.
You could probably like watch Linda Moulton Howe or Lou Elizondo or whoever the fuck, and whenever they make an appearance somewhere, I'm sure that there's some hot goss in between the cracks
there's like a whole genre of like people on YouTube who do like makeup tutorials while they explain true crime stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
I would love the idea of someone doing like a really like, here's my formal like red carpet makeup look while they explain why Daryl Sims and what's the other guy's name? Roger Lear had a falling out and what happened and all the interpersonal drama between these two like 50-year-old men.
If anyone finds that, please send it to me because I could not find the actual reason.
I will say it's not exactly this, but Emily's Weird Reads kind of does some of that. Like she got into all of the really crazy stuff in the characters and people and drama between the people involved in like, the Montauk Project conspiracy. So it's not explicitly about that, but she does get into a lot of that stuff.
I want it done in the tone of someone who is like explaining why Brad and Angelina broke up. You know what I mean?
There needs to be like a Brazilian waxer YouTuber who explains ufology. I agree.
Yes.
Or Kyle and I start a Twitch channel where we play through co-op games while explaining UFO
and
stuff.
you give me a Brazilian wax.
Yeah, and I give you a Brazilian at the same time.
You.
Yeah. So, so Sims and Lear met in 1995. Sims was doing research into alien implants because he had, this was already an interest of his, and Lear was already becoming involved in the UFO community, as far as I can tell. And they did meet at a UFO conference in 1995 under the guise of working together on these alien implant removal surgeries. They did the first one in August of 1995 at Roger Lear's podiatry clinic in Thousand Oaks, California. And then sometime after that, they started an organization called FIRST, which is the Fund for Interactive Research in Space Technology. Now, this does not exist anymore. This went away sometime in the 2000s, I believe. I didn't find an exact date when FIRST folded because their website is no longer around. But I did find some quotes that someone found by digging through the Internet Archive. But yeah, this organization went away at some point.
Well,
because
if you're not first, you're last. So
yeah. I don't know exactly when, but these people seem to have had a falling out. If you look at any sources from really post 2000, like we're like post 2005 maybe, which is the most of these things. Like this, the internet has made this a much more popular thing, so there's a lot more aggregation of more recent sources. Anyone talking about Dr. Roger Lear, there will only be very small cursory references to Daryl Sims. And then if you look up Daryl Sims stuff, there's a lot of places where he will not mention Dr. Roger Lear at all. And so it, like, to the point where I didn't realize Daryl Sims was actually like a big part of this because I was coming at it from the Roger Lear side until I found a specific source that he got kind of cross-referenced in a side thing I was looking at.
Really?
And then I found out he is still extant, still going, is on Discovery Plus right now.
Oh my God.
Is wearing a big old fucking cowboy hat.
You really hate to see two bad bitches pitted against each other.
Yeah.
How many gallons are we talking?
I mean, he's like full blown like Kevin Costner on Yellowstone.
Oh.
Like he's got the like turquoise bandolier type thing, not bandolier, the like bolo tie.
Very cool.
And like a vest and a suit and all this shit. He looks like a fucking baron. It's pretty ridiculous. And I've got some more information on that in a little bit. But when I was trying to find why I wasn't seeing a more in-depth look at Lear and Sims's work together, I stumbled upon a message board for a podcast in the field of UFOs. They do interviews with people. They're called the Paracast.
Oh yeah, I know them.
I found their message board where they did a episode interviewing Daryl Sims in 2009.
Oh my God. Okay.
And this was right after the episode dropped. Someone started a thread on their message boards basically saying, hey, you said when you were leading up to this episode that you were going to, get into the stuff with Roger Lear and like what's going on there and everything, but you straight up didn't ask anything about it. And one of the hosts of the podcast then like replied, this is like a 3-page thread on their message board. That one of the hosts of the show said, we talked to Daryl Sims before the interview, and he said that he, quote unquote, was not going to get bogged down in personalities and was only there to talk about science.
Oh, so he's a messy bitch. He's a messy bitch, and something fucking happened.
Oh my God.
So I do not know exactly why they had a falling out. It happened sometime before 2009.
Not gonna get bogged down in personalities. That is the type of shit that someone says when they know shit will get raw and real so quick.
Yeah.
You start bringing personalities into the equation, he will get bogged down.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll get bogged down.
So I did find that there was a time period where Dr. Roger Lear's medical license was suspended, on probation for 3 years.
Oh shit!
And there was some like vague claims to some financial troubles with the organization they had created, where because of the probation, they needed money. They were kind of asking, I don't know if they were doing, like, this was before a lot of some of the stuff that we have now for like crowdfunding and shit, but it seemed like there was at one point hey, we're undergoing financial trouble. Can you help us keep our research going thing? And then at some point they just had a full blown falling out, and they both have started different businesses that if you try to Google stuff about them, you end up just finding their home addresses because they're all incorporated to these people. They just are these people's homes. One of them is an ANS Research Inc., I believe is what it's called. That's Roger Lear's organization that he had up until his death in 2014. And then Daryl Sims is now more of a personality kind of person that has a very fun website that I'll talk a little bit more about later. But for now, let's continue talking about Lear and the actual removals and stuff.
One who will never get on this show as a guest now after this episode.
I mean, like, yeah, probably. I don't know. We don't typically have a lot of guests anyway that are in the UFO community, so I think I don't normally worry about burning bridges on this show.
This is the one time I'm worried about it, just because I can shame you about it. That's all.
Yeah. So Look, I haven't said he's a fraud yet. I
You
just
just
said
did.
he
I'll
had a
say
falling
it.
out
I'll
with
say it if
people.
you want me to.
Yeah, I just said he had a falling out with a guy.
I like yet being a part of that sentence.
So, the first implant removal surgeries under the hand and guide of Dr. Roger Lear took place on August 19th, 1995 at Dr. Roger Lear's podiatry clinic in Thousand Oaks, California. Like I mentioned, it was Pat Perinelio and Mary Jones. Daryl Sims at the time was chief investigator for the Houston UFO Network, and has since gone on to do other things, but that was where he was at the time before they started first, as far as I can tell. And they had pretty relatively straightforward surgeries. Lear said that in one instance, it took him some time to locate one of the objects, and it had to be very delicately removed from some fibrous tissue that had been attached to, but the surgeries went well, no real complications. And they sent the implants that were removed from these people to be studied by 2 different pathologists. And then they were sent to various independent laboratories for extensive scientific analysis. And there's a list of tests that were done on these things: pathology/tissue evaluation, laser-induced breakdown spectroscopy, extensive metallurgical testing involving a density immersion test, X-ray energy dispersive spectroscopy, scanning electron microscopy, X-ray diffraction pattern analysis, yada, 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 all this stuff. They went through a rigorous battering of tests that, to people who don't know anything about this stuff, sounds very fucking impressive.
Correct.
These tests were done at the National Institute of Discovery of Science in New Mexico and a couple other places.
Oh. NIDS. Sorry, I just know about NIDS, but go ahead.
Yep. NIDS got their hands on this stuff. These tests were far from conclusive. However, Dr. Lear or Sims, maybe at this point, the sources stop referencing the 2 people together. So the actual attribution of a lot of this stuff going forward is a little sketchy. But they noticed that in both cases, the objects had caused no actual inflammation in the body. Normally, when a foreign object is in the musculature, the basically in your body goop, it causes some form of fibrosis or a cyst by the body rejecting this foreign object. But they didn't seem to find any of that with these implants. So it seemed like the body had been, quote unquote, persuaded to accept the objects as part of the body. They also found that some implants that were removed over the course of the rest of his life, Dr. Roger Lear performed 16 different surgeries and removed supposedly 17 implants in total. And throughout all of these, they didn't have the inflammation stuff, and some of them were found with this membrane that surrounded it that was gray in color and made of keratin, proteinaceous coagulum, and hemosiderin. Basically blood proteins and cells normally found on the outer surface of the skin. Supposedly the membrane also contained nerve and pressure sensitive cells that wouldn't usually be there. That's usually in other parts of the body that wouldn't be where these implants were. And the implants themselves did give off a green fluorescent light under UV illumination.
Okay.
The lab tests revealed that these objects were made of very unusual metal. They were made up of 11 elements, which correlate with the elements found in meteorites. But if you look into that in depth, that is technically true. But the stuff that's in meteorites is like zinc.
Right.
And stuff that is also pretty common on Earth. Like there's this whole thing where in a documentary that I was seeing referenced, they kept specifically stating that it was a certain isotope of zinc that I think was zinc 64, which is actually one of the most common forms of zinc found on Earth. But by calling it out as the specific isotope of zinc, it made it sound much more special and unique and alien.
And it's NIDS who's, testing these things, right?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay.
They got a pass at them, but they supposedly went to a bunch of other places, and we'll get to why I say supposedly a little bit later.
Just to be clear, NIDS is one of the foundations that was done by Robert Bigelow, the guy who ended up taking over Skinwalker Ranch.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I yes, we do know that from watching. We had that Skinwalker Ranch documentary and some various. We did some episodes on that stuff too. I forgot that was him.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Okay.
Just a fun connection.
So they then continued to do more surgeries. The next ones took place on May 18th, 1996. And then more in 1997. Basically, these things just continued over time. And each time they would, try to publish some findings. Eventually, he wrote a book that was seemingly, it was published as under like some Whitley Strieber imprint of UFO books. I have the cover here. Let's see. It's there's a series of books called Whitley Strieber's Hidden Agendas. So this one is Casebook Alien Implants by Dr. Roger Lear. This is one of the books that he wrote about this subject. And Whitley Strieber is someone that we've talked about a little bit before that I believe is pretty heavily thought of as a charlatan in UFO circles. And
I have a question that is half a bit that is like borderline. I think could be a big question on this show, and
Okay.
I'm hesitant to even burn it on this recording with you because I feel like I should give it to you to write down in a little book and save as a big question. But who would you say is the Kevin Bacon of the UFO community that you could play 6 Degrees with and get to any other of these freaks? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who is a central figure who you could, in 6 Degrees, get to any other of these fucking assholes who do this shit?
That's a really good question that almost could be its own fucking episode.
Yeah.
there's a couple people who would, I think, qualify for that. There's like Rick Doty is like my first easy
that
one.
was my first thought too.
But there's definitely a handful of people I think who would qualify for that. But Rick Doty, first thought, that's mine. So
he's a guy that was
Rick
involved
Doty.
in the so people remember Richard Doty from our multi-part disinformation thing that Kyle did a little while ago. He was involved with a lot of that kind of stuff and was pretty prominent in the UFO community for quite a while.
You know who my answer is?
Huh.
Reagan.
6 Degrees of Reagan.
Fucking Biden.
Two tricky dicks, Rick Doty and Ronald. Wait, fuck.
Wait, hold on a second.
I was thinking of Richard
That's
Nixon.
not the guy.
Oh my God. Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan hold the same, like, they're in the same, allocated to the same brain space in my mind. And so they kind of just like switch sometimes for me mentally.
Not a lot of people know this, but Ronald Reagan is actually just like the Voldemort face on the back of Richard Nixon's quarrel head. That's why Nixon wore that big turban for his whole presidency.
I do ask that question regularly, is why was Reagan wearing a massive
purple
head turban during his entire presidential run?
Not many.
He wasn't wearing it.
Not many people know this, but Ronald Reagan is confirmed in hell.
It's so true. So true.
We have confirmed this. This is one of the very few confirmed cases of hell for certain.
I was trying to go for a poll that wouldn't make me have to reference Harry Potter because Harry Potter, as we all know, is dead and not a real thing. But there's an action figure that I had when I was a kid that I feel like is a popular 90s action figure, but I cannot remember what it is for the life of me, that had like a head that would like flip forward and it would turn into a different...
Jules, are you talking about the Power Rangers toys that have the flippable head between having the mask on and off?
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes.
Probably.
Oh.
So that's Nixon and Reagan.
Right, yeah.
Those are very popular now in the toy collecting community as like a...
Or are they expensive as shit?
They're not like
hard to
mint.
find.
They are... Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, if you want to see people talk about this kind of shit, they cover toys extensively and have collected all of those things. So, it's that's what you're thinking of. I had the white range. I had one of those as a kid. I forget which one it was.
In my mind, the one I'm picturing is yellow. So I don't know if that's
that
accurate.
Would make sense that you were given the yellow Ranger.
Because I'm a girl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's important in back in those days.
Definitely. Especially with these, masked rangers that don't, really have any characteristics that would. Well, I guess they might.
Well, there's the unmasked head. So
that's fair. I don't know what I'm talking. I don't remember this toy. You're gonna have to take me out back and shoot me after this episode.
I'll send you a picture of these toys after we're done recording, so you have an idea what we're talking about. So Lear set up an organization called ANS Research Inc. in
ANS Research?
A&S, but yes, okay. ANS Research. Back to searching in buttholes, which is the theme of this episode, I guess. This is a nonprofit organization designed to raise funds and manage ongoing surgeries and analysis. So basically, he did most of these surgeries. As far as I can tell, this part is true.
Sorry, analysis? Analysis?
Yes, analysis. Most of these surgeries were performed pro bono. So this organization paid for them. If you dig too much into this organization, you will find Roger Lear's home address because I believe it was just incorporated at his house.
Well, he's dead, so you can do whatever you want with that, right?
Yeah. So he, like I said, he had performed in total 16 different surgeries, removing 17 objects in total. And supposedly they were all close to either the bone or the skin surface. He didn't ever find any in organs or deeper internal tissues. And he claimed that these were actually placed there for a specific reason. And because they were intentionally placed someplace accessible so they could be removed and put back in very quickly and easily by aliens. And he thinks that the bone skeleton could act as a kind of antenna for communicating with the implants, because at one point he seemed to have found that the implants emitted deep space radio waves. He used a Gauss meter on an implant to detect electromagnetic radiation coming from the object, and they seem to emit radio waves at 8 hertz, 14 megahertz, and 19 gigahertz. These emissions stopped approximately 60 to 90 days once the objects were removed, seemingly suggesting that they were drawing energy from the body to broadcast, in his mind. Now, a lot of people will say, hey, this is probably just some form of shrapnel or piece of metal or whatever that came in through a cut or whatever, and it's just been there for a long time, and so they're not actually alien at all. And that, from what I've seen, from looking at a lot of pictures of removed alien implants and also watching some of the stuff, the videos and stuff, that seems pretty likely. A lot of these just look like little pieces of metal. And so the thing that Jules and I watched last night that I mentioned vaguely earlier was an episode of Penn and Teller Bullshit, which was an episode which was a series on Showtime, which was basically Penn and Teller going out and lightheartedly, but also with a lot of swearing, so it's Showtime and they could get away with it, would go through and kind of debunk stuff and show the kind of scam in certain things or whatever else. And they did an episode on alien abductions.
An example of another one that they did was they proved that bottled water is just tap water that they sell to you at a higher price.
Yeah, it's
that's the theme of the show is Penn Jillette at the time being one of those guys who his whole personality was oh, you mean you're Magic Man in the sky? He was one of those outspoken atheists who would be I see what's really going on. And so they gave them this whole show to be all these, it's like Adam Ruins Everything.
I was going to say, it was the Adam Ruins Everything of its time.
Adam Ruins Everything, yeah.
So we watched this episode because it was basically them going to a UFO abduction convention in the Bay Area. And the first 2/3 of the episode were them talking to people at the convention, just regular people that were there either for seminars or whatever. And there's a lot of kind of the basis of people believing in aliens and the psychology of it. Then they talked to a hypno regression therapist who they really raked over the coals because her rates were really high, and some of her patients had been seeing her for 12 years.
Didn't you recognize her name at a certain point?
Barbara Lamb. Does that name ring a bell, Kyle?
Not immediately, but maybe I know him.
Who
did you say was Kevin Bacon before?
Rick Doty.
Richard Doty.
Connect her to Rick Doty.
I mean,
you've got 6 degrees.
I think I could do. I think if we looked through the footage of the UFO convention, there might be a Richard Doty book on like at the convention that she's in. Not a book, but a thing that references him, because I don't think he wrote a lot of books, but he would be referenced in stuff at the UFO convention. And so they went through and talked to people who went through hypnotic regression for alien abductions, and then eventually the kind of my jaw dropped when we got to the end of like the last third of the episode, because the two big like people that they were interviewing as the like biggest names at this convention, Kyle, were Dr. Roger Lear and David Icke.
Oh God. Oh boy.
And
okay.
So, and this was from I don't know, early 2000s probably. So it was, they went into all the stuff about David Icke was really in his George Bush Sr. and George Bush Jr. are reptilians kind of phase. Was already in on all the shit that David Icke sucks for, but was maybe a little more mask on at the time. I don't know, but they thought he was, a total bullshit artist.
He's a buffoon.
Then they talked to Dr. Roger Lear, and he talked to them about the implants and stuff. And the thing that really sticks out about this episode is there's this footage of him talking like on a surgical consult where there's this implant that is underneath someone's skin, and it is moving around as he's like, he can touch it and move it around underneath their skin. And he's claiming that the implant is like running away from his finger. And like anytime his finger would get close to it, it would move away. But you can full blown just see him pushing it around.
He's pushing it around. And my favorite thing about it is then they take it out and it's fully stationary.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so is your argument that like it only works when it's in my biological tissue? Like there's something that deactivates it once you remove it? Because like he's clearly pushing it around, and then the second they take it out, they're just holding it.
And it's literally like they're intercutting it with an actual surgeon, not just a pediatric surgeon. He's something else, and he's talking about he's removed a bunch of stuff like this, and doesn't believe in aliens and everything, and is just talking about it. And he straight up is like, yeah, that is just straight up. It is subcutaneous fat that is separated from the layer of fat in your body. It just creates this little like pearl looking thing. And it is entirely mobile because it's detached from the fat in your skin.
And he explicitly says, if I had a patient come in and tell me about this, I would just tell them it's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
You do not need surgery to remove it. It's just a thing that happens. And the show immediately puts that back to back with this Lear asshole being like, oh, I charge this much for this, and I've done like this many of these surgeries. And like, it's crazy when the way that the bullshit show works is like, they try to do that as often as possible, where they like back to back have a credible person and a not credible person say their things in separate interviews. And it's like,
yeah, and they cut back and forth. It's
fucking cretinous, the way that these people prey on people monetarily.
And the way that they end the episode that I really enjoyed was that they then cut through back to like everyone that they've interviewed on the episode, and they talk about basically how they're making money off of this weekend and like how much money they're making from it, and just show, and it's just like, which isn't necessarily like, those events exist for people to sell stuff and make money and everything, but it is pretty fucking.
And I would say most of the time that's not super predatory, because a lot of the people who are going there, they're going for fun and they're paying money. It's the same as if I went to Comic-Con or whatever. For a lot of people who are going, they do believe in aliens. I'm not saying that they think it's fictional, but like they want to go and buy the books. They want to go, but like the people who are getting the hypnotherapy and these surgeries, that's predatory.
Yes.
That's predatory.
And they straight up found the documents showing that he was on probation for 3 years by the California Board of Podiatric Medicine, I guess, because he was guilty of having committed, quote, repeated acts of negligence to his patients. So there's, outside of the UFO community, and even in the UFO community in certain sections, he's not viewed as specifically credible. He's not viewed as like absolutely malicious or anything, just kind of swept up in it a little bit. Yeah, it's pretty interesting to look at.
So are you telling me
that episode's available on Showtime if you want to look at it?
Are you telling me that these alien implants aren't real?
Yeah, Kyle, I might be saying that they might actually not be real.
I guess I just don't know what the scar in my arm is all about then.
Yeah.
Also, stuff can just sit in the body for a really long time. Like, I don't know if you two know this, but in the palm, you're not going to be able to see it on webcam, I don't think. But in between my index and middle finger of my right hand, down about an inch from the finger webbing, you can see a black dot underneath my skin.
Piece of pencil lead, right?
And I have pencil lead that's just permanently in there from getting stabbed by a pencil. So, yeah, so that's just in there. It doesn't bother me, but it's like been in there forever. And it's like, you know, stuff can get, that's been in there since elementary school. Like, stuff can just be in your body for a very long time without you ever really noticing it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So the last little bit on Roger Lear here before we wrap it up before we move on a little bit, is there was a 2017 documentary entitled Patient 17 about the final surgery of Dr. Roger Lear. Now, Kyle, this was interesting to us because the documentary was put together by the one and only Jeremy Corbell.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah.
It's a 68-minute documentary about the final surgery of Dr. Roger Lear. So one thing I didn't mention, Dr. Roger Lear, I guess, was a repeated Coast to Coast AM guest. He was on there pretty regularly throughout his like run of alien implant stuff.
I think I've heard him on there before.
Yeah, he made all the rounds. He was in MUFON. He was did the circuit of talks and has books, and he published this like this article right before, like days before his death, I think. That was kind of the conclusions from his last set of surgeries and everything, and kind of his quote most complete evidence yet. But this documentary, it came out, I think. It was done after his death as kind of a bit of trying to give him his flowers, I guess. Like it's one of those things where it's kind of a legacy of the man thing, as well as talking about the documentary. It's like the actual subject itself. But there is an absolutely unhinged side thing that I found for this.
Okay. I
was looking through the reviews of this on IMDb, and the only 10-star review it has talks about I'm just going to read it from the beginning, because the absolutely unhinged thing happens in the second sentence. Just wow, how people analyze this movie and start throwing dirt at it and its involved persons. Does it matter Steve was, quote, suspicious of involvement in the Oklahoma bombings? Was he judged? I mean, if he would have been involved in the bombings, I still don't see what the hell it has to do with this movie. So I looked into this.
Oh my God.
The guy's name is Stephen Colburn. He worked for A&S Research Inc. for a while, was their chief research officer or something. He was listed as that as his title on a documentary he participated in.
He hosts a late night talk show now too, right?
Yeah, a very popular one. Yeah.
Yeah, really fell off after he left Comedy Central. But yeah, so I looked into this, and I don't know how much you know about the Oklahoma City bombings, Kyle and Jules. But that was Timothy McVeigh. But there was supposedly a John Doe number 2 that was never identified. Yep. And I looked into this, and there was a LA Times article from 1995 that says that a local biochemist by the name of Stephen Colburn was arrested by the I think the FBI in relation to, or at least brought in for questioning by the FBI in relation to the Oklahoma City bombings. And he was brought in under the auspices of, originally people thought that it was because he resembled John Doe number 2. but eventually the FBI made it clear that he was brought in because they saw that Timothy McVeigh had contacted him months before the actual bombing, and seeing he was a biochemist, they were looking at him for involvement because he had some leanings online towards similar political circles Timothy McVeigh was operating in. So they were looking at him as a possible person of interest in the case. Turns out I don't think he had any direct involvement in the Oklahoma City bombings. This was just one of those like wild, jaw-dropping things that I came across that I had to look
That
into.
is
And
very strange.
yeah. So the last little, okay, most of the other reviews of that, the documentary seems pretty bad. Most reviews are like nothing more than 4 stars, but there are like 3 positive ones. It seems pretty bad. So Roger Leary did die in 2014 of a heart attack, but I want to leave you with this. Just setting up for the eventual Daryl Sims episode that I'm going to get into, because there's a whole other side to this thing that I think is interesting with his career after this. But Daryl Sims calls himself, his brand in the UFO community he calls himself the Alien Hunter. He claims to be one of the first people, if not the first, to figure out aliens who are implanting people. He also wears a big old cowboy hat and outfit. And here is one of the opening bit of one of his 2 entirely separate bio pages on his website. This one titled on the actual like tab, if you open it up, in the Great Daryl Sims on his website, thealienhunter.com.
Okay.
More than 40 years ago, Daryl Sims had his first encounter with an alien presence. At the age of 17, he experienced a malignant contact with these alien beings that would alter his life forever. As a result of the violent encounter, Daryl made the decision that he would no longer willingly be victim to the bizarre quests of alien entities. He was determined to change his role in life from being the hunted to the hunter. When these same beings later came for his 5-year-old son, Daryl Sims put his hunt into high gear. Daryl began preparing himself for his lifelong quest of pursuing the alien prey. Every path he took would equip him mentally, physically, and spiritually to become a warrior for the cause and to assume the role he was born to play. As a result, he has spent the last 3 decades researching the world of alien beings. Basically, this guy's trying to become Alien Hunter Batman.
Wow, this guy's a hero.
He is currently a talking head on a Discovery Plus series on UFO.
Great, as heroes
Did he consult on Cowboys and Aliens?
I wish he had, because he would be a perfect cross-section of cowboy and alien.
He rolled up.
Yeah.
He rolled up to the set of that movie, and they were like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" And he just looked at me, kind of gestured, and he was like, "Look at me."
Like, what's not to get?
What are you not getting just by looking at me?
Harrison Ford needs to talk to me.
Yeah, he was like, "Harrison, I got great ideas
Now.
for you. I hunt aliens for a living." And Harrison Ford was like, baby boy. And
just wrapped his arm around him.
Is that what you use to get into your Harrison Ford impression?
Yeah.
Baby boy.
Yeah.
Baby boy.
Yes.
Kind of like with Michael Caine, you always got to start with Master Bruce or something like that.
Your grape
He
swishes,
calls
Master
him
Wayne.
Master Bruce. You know the most common thing that he refers to Batman as Master Bruce? No,
Master
he doesn't.
Look, I forgot the thing he actually said, so I went for that's the thing that Alfred calls Bruce in the comics.
Master Bruce. The idea of Michael Caine saying that is very funny.
Look,
to me.
my
As
brain
an
has been
asshole
cooked.
who only watches the movies,
Yeah.
I can tell you, he calls him Master Wayne. Sometimes he'll say Bruce,
Yeah.
but it's rare.
Yeah, I was trying not to go into, you're only supposed to blow the bloody doors
Yeah,
off.
that's what I used to get into it.
Yeah.
That's what I.
Master Wayne,
So-
I've brought you your alien hunting gear and your cowboy
These are
hat.
terrible Michael Caine.
Oh yeah, these are all
Here's
bad.
the other thing you can use to get into it. All you have to do is say, "My name is Michael
My
Caine."
name is Michael Caine,
Yes.
and I've
That
brought
may be the
your
best one.
alien hunting gear, Master Wayne.
It's very convenient because the best word to use to get into his accent is his own name.
True. That is true. So let's end this before I get more cooked by this hot room and get into our big question.
Yeah.
So this week I've got a big question for you.
Okay.
Obviously, a full-blown surgeon is the ideal way to remove your alien implant, but they don't want to deal with possible malpractice. So if you had to have one non-surgical profession take the reins on your alien implant removal surgery, what profession would you trust?
Subway sandwich artist.
Wow, that was immediate.
Can I choose maybe not exactly a profession, but a professional in a profession? And
I mean, if it's funny, sure, go ahead.
I want Weird Al, but specifically in his Like a Surgeon music video outfit.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Because not
Perfect.
quite a surgeon, but honestly, Sandwich
A Subwitch sandwich artist?
Sandway
Subwitch
Subwitch?
Sandway
Oh my
artist.
God. Subway Sandwich
A
artist
witch sandwich
is
artist?
funnier than mine, I have to concede.
So, Jules...
They wear those big flappy, crunchy plastic gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gonna use the little knife that he uses to cut the sandwich open.
Yeah, the
for sure.
$1 plastic paring knives that they have a million of.
Yep.
Yeah, and when he
That's it.
puts
Now, what toppings are you putting on your surgery?
Black olives, honey mustard, and
You
shredded
know-
lettuce.
No
Although-
sweet teriyaki sauce?
but you know that like when he's doing the surgery on you, he's going to like put all those olives in like the front quadrant of the sandwich and not the
So
whole thing.
true.
Yeah.
You know?
So true. I'm just picturing. I mean, I think it's the best place would be in your leg or your arm, right? Because it's already the shape that they deal with. So he cuts in, he sticks the knife in parallel.
Yeah.
Just really opens it up,
Yeah,
peels
like
back the top
like a roll,
layer
yeah.
of your flesh,
like a $5 foot long on your wrist. Yeah.
and then he just gets in there with some of that sweet onion sauce.
If you think about
you
it.
ask for extra, and he says yes, but he still just puts the normal amount.
Yeah. And you ask for light mayo and he just goes to fucking
Oh my
town.
God, he's putting so much fucking mayo on there. And the thing is, if you can think about it, Subway sandwich artists are really artisans of shapes, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
this makes a lot of sense. This is probably the best hands you could be in. That's not a surgeon.
Before he closes you back up, he asks you want it toasted.
Yeah. Yeah, I want it microwaved, not toasted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Just warm it up.
That's good.
my answer is actually on a somewhat similar thought process to Jules, I think.
Okay.
Great.
I'm going to trust my alien implant removal surgery to someone who does competition barbecue. And here is why.
We're vibing. We're
Yeah.
vibing.
This is something I've picked up. I watch way too much like food YouTube and shit, like people who like process like briskets for competition and shit. The skill and quickness and like precision in watching someone who does competition barbecue breaking down like a whole hog is fucking ridiculous. They're like,
You basically picked a surgeon. Like,
yeah, I picked.
Be real.
You know, maybe I went against the spirit of the question here, but
with the level of anatomy that they have to know,
yeah,
and like the amount that they already spend cutting around bone.
yeah. Well, if you watch one of these motherfuckers remove the silver skin on a brisket, you'll realize that they're fully qualified to take care of me in terms of taking out my alien.
That is,
I feel like master sushi chef also
Yeah,
would
yeah.
be.
I'm kind of realizing now that Weird Al's just going to do a funny parody song about my arm.
Yeah.
You know,
He'll make you feel
What
better.
song
about
would
it,
his parody about alien implants
I
be?
don't know what pick an implant, no bleeding.
That's
Don't
pretty
give a
good.
fuck if I
See, that actually makes more sense than my first thought, which was wet ass implant.
Jesus Christ.
So
There's some metal
I
in
think
this arm.
that's-
There's some metal in this arm. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
I was gonna say an alien implant is made. Is that good?
I do like the idea of
didn't try
wet
at
ass.
all.
and you stayed under the like allowable 10 seconds or whatever we have, so we don't have to pay royalties on that. So
Perfect.
I do like that
Oh, man.
we have at least, you know, if he's doing a wet ass implant, then it staves off the likes of Ben Shapiro, who can't handle that subject matter with
so
his
true.
extremely dry wife.
Oh my God. My favorite genre of tweet is conservative man admitting that he's never aroused a woman.
yeah, it's
That was
surprisingly consistent.
Maybe one of the greatest self-owns in the history of self-owns. Ben Shapiro.
My
can't
wife's pussy
fuck.
has never been
My
wet.
wife has never been turned on by me a single time, and I'm proud of it. That little Ben Cuck Shapiro. Anyways.
Yeah. So do you want to take care of some business?
Well, yeah, I do.
Okay. Jules, I'm going to let you plug first if you want to go ahead and do you want to plug your
Oh, sure. I want to plug the television series House MD. You should check it out. It's streaming probably somewhere.
Probably.
Yeah.
Just watch every episode of that, and then personally tag me on Twitter when you're done.
Mm-hmm.
But I want proof that you watched every single episode.
Yeah, show that that screen where it shows that you have the like white bar across the bottom of all the episodes.
You gotta scroll through all
there's
of them.
that. I either need that with comprehensive screenshots of every single one, or every time you watch an episode, hold up a newspaper and take a picture of the TV with the newspaper with that day's date.
Yeah.
So that I know that you watched it over the course of how long it takes.
You're about to get at least 2 or 3 listeners to get a newspaper subscription.
I fucking hope I do, and I hope that they watch House MD for the first
Jules
time.
is keeping the print industry alive.
But you can follow me on Twitter at Julia by Julia on Twitter. That's my personal. Or you can also give my podcast a listen. I made an extremely niche wrestling reference earlier in this episode, which if you understood, you would love my podcast. It's called The Outside Dive. It's available wherever podcasts are sold. Nile is the co-host, and we're on Twitter at Outside Divecast. So even if you don't listen to the podcast, give the Twitter a follow.
Yeah.
Give us a chance to win your heart.
If you have a friend that watches specifically All Elite Wrestling or just wrestling in general, just send them a link.
Yeah.
So our business, Kyle.
Right. Well, I was just going to say...
go ahead.
You can spare a follow, like you don't have to listen if you don't want to. Like,
hey, follows don't cost you nothing.
Yeah, exactly. It's free to follow. I mean, although that could change at any time.
True.
It's so true.
But
immediately
outdated. I guess what I'm saying is if you follow our podcast, then you better be following Outside Divecast, and I will be checking.
Yeah, all we have to do to get follows to cost money is like go through Elon Musk's follows and post the embarrassing ones, because that's how you get him to change stuff on Twitter, is embarrass him.
Or the embarrassing unfollows. Like, I don't think Grimes follows him anymore, and she's his baby mama.
True. So if you want to find us on social media, we're on Twitter at IGW Podcast.
You can follow us on Facebook.com/ItGetsWeirdPodcast.
And we're on all your favorite podcatchers, from Stitcher to Google Play to Apple Podcasts to Spotify. If you listen to podcasts somewhere, look up It Gets Weird and we're probably there.
It's the month of July and my life is absolutely fucked right now. But follow us at twitch.tv/itgetsweird. I'm probably not going to be streaming for the month of July. Maybe I'll sneak one in there. I can't even begin to stress how much bullshit I'm doing. But check us out on Twitch, because we do stream there. We have a lot of fun there. So please give us a follow. It helps us out. Email us at itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. Email me your favorite sleepy time teas to make me go to Betty by like a good boy. And Jules dropped her Twitter, which I've never done that, but I'm at Akashic Access. I don't think I've ever said that on this podcast. But
yeah, I think I'm at writing down if anyone wants to follow
fuck
me
it.
for some reason.
Whatever. Follow us on Twitter. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We have a $2 tier and a $5 tier. At the $2 tier, you get the bonus show called It Gets Weird TV, where right now we're going through season 1 of the X-Files. We're towards the end of season 1, so we'll be voting for a new show pretty soon, within the next couple of weeks. But, donors to the podcast get to vote in a poll of what show we watch next. So if you want to do that, check out the $2 tier. We also have a $5 tier where you get access to It Gets Weird TV, but you also get access to other bonus shows that come out in the off weeks of It Gets Weird TV. So you're getting bonus content every single week. At the $5 tier, also when I do live streams, video on demand goes up on the Patreon for $5 donors a week after the original airing. Whether you donate to the $2 tier or the $5 tier, you get access to the main show 2 days early on Friday instead of Sunday. And you get access to a Discord where we're hanging out, talking about who fucking knows anymore. Everything, anything you want, within reason. And we have a $1 tier.
And if you love me, as I'm assured that all the listeners of this podcast do, I'm in the Discord. So if you're not in there, get in there.
True.
Fucking tag me. I'll fucking talk to you about whatever the fuck you want.
It's true.
We'll start a
You
house
want to talk
channel.
about House MD? Yeah, we will start it. If there is interest, I will fucking rewatch House.
We have a movie.
We do.
Maybe House will go on the next watch list for It Gets Weird TV.
Well,
Fuck
it'll have to
yeah.
be the alien butt surgery season.
Easy.
Oh, I thought you. Sorry,
The season-long arc about alien butt
I
surgery.
thought Jules was saying like easy now, Kyle.
Easy. Cool it, Kyle.
Yeah. So yeah, we're all three on the Discord too. So if you want to, hang out and chat with us about all kinds of stuff, we're on there as well. But you're gonna have to donate. You're gonna have to fucking pay up with the cash. We do.
Yeah, you got to pay to play,
Exactly.
baby.
We do have a $1 tier, which you don't get anything out of it except the satisfaction of giving a tip to your favorite weird podcast. But if you can't donate, please tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman all about It Gets Weird podcast.
Also, if you're listening to this and you do donate and you are subscribed to the Patreon, I want you to start messaging Nile in the Discord and bothering him to buy a webcam because he still hasn't fucking bought one. Kyle is here on camera. He's looking sexy as hell. Give me your most kawaii pose. Look at that. Oh, look at that face. And we can see that, but he can't see Nile.
them.
Yeah, true.
And so I need the listeners of this podcast to start harassing Nile to buy a
That's
webcam.
true.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I agree.
All right. Well, now that I've been formally put on blast, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you all for listening to It Gets Weird podcast. This has been It Gets Weird podcast, and I've been Nile.
I'm Kyle signing out.
It Gets Weird podcast.
Goodbye and good night.